If your vocal mixes haven't been sounding polished, or maybe you're struggling to get that pro-sounding vocal mix you hear on all your favorite records, it could be because you're just not fully understanding a few simple techniques. And honestly, I can't blame you, because mixing can be tricky. There's so many new plugins coming out all the time, so much gear, and a whole bunch of misinformation out there. But in this video, I'm going to teach you 3 ways from super simple to more advanced on how you can mix vocals and sound something like this.
I've been waiting all my life, dreaming till the day I die. I've already walked through the fire and ran through the flames.
And the best part is these techniques can instantly be applied to your next track or mix to get better results. Well, if you're new here, thanks so much for stopping by. My name's Christian Hale, Billboard charting producer-songwriter right here in Nashville, Tennessee. My music's been streamed hundreds of millions of times and it's been licensed by many of the world's leading brands or networks. I'm here to help you elevate the quality of your music and, if you so desire, make more money from your music. As we get into this video, I have a free gift I want to give you that goes along with the video. It is my free vocal mixing cheat sheet, which you can find linked down in the description below or on my website, christianhale.co/free resources. So definitely go get that to go deeper on today's subject matter. But without any further ado, let's get into this video teaching you how you can elevate your vocal mixes. So let's start with the simplest method of mixing a vocal. On this track right here, we have our vocal with no processing going on. As you can see, the track is called Dry Vocal. Let's take a listen to what that sounds like in the track right now with no mix sauce aside from a little auto-tune rolling. Yeah, as you can hear, it sounds like a dry vocal over an otherwise fairly mixed track. Here's what that vocal sounds like in isolation, because every technique we work on today is going to be stemming from this same original dry vocal.
First things first, don't panic. Life can be dramatic, can lie, this manic. State I'm in is tragic, it's all in my head.
Yeah, as you can hear, to me that sounds like a well-recorded dry vocal. It just doesn't sound mixed at all in the track. It's not cutting through. So here's the easiest way to do that. If you're maybe an artist watching, or you're a newer producer, newer engineer, and you're like, I just need to go from 0 to 60 and get that dry vocal sounding good, but I don't really know much, nor do I even care to know much about anything technical. Here's what you need to do. Go get good old faithful CLA Vocals from Waves. Those of you that are watching that know, you know. And this is an old classic at this point, and there's a few presets from CLA Vocals that work great. And we're going to kind of go audition a couple of them to see what works best. But Rockman and Rockman Dry is one. And Face to Face and Face to Face Dry are other ones. Let's start with Face to Face Dry and just put this on the vocal and push play and see what happens.
First things first, don't panic. Life can be dramatic.
I'm back.
Can lie, this manic. State I'm in is tragic. It's all in my head. Comes out of nowhere, but I can't forget. 'Cause I've been waiting all my life.
I mean, that took us from something that sounded unmixed to in the matter of one plugin and one preset. And I have no affiliation with Waves, no affiliation with any of these plugins I'm about to show you today. I'm just showing you stuff I like, and I always will. That took us from like 0 to 60, like pretty decent, pretty good. And as you see, we have different parameters we can control on the CLA Vocals. The face-to-face dry means that the reverb delay and pitch stereo widener portions of this plugin aren't engaged, but I'd be curious if we went face-to-face wet just on the stock preset here, kind of where we're sitting.
First things first, don't panic. Life can be dramatic, can lie, this manic. State I'm in is tragic, it's all in my head.
Like, not bad at all. There's some stuff I don't love about it, and we'll dial that in. And spoiler alert, in the moderate and advanced portions of this video, we'll fully address that. But I'm curious if we go over to Rockman, another very common, popular CLA Vocals preset. See what we get from Rockman.
First things first, don't panic. Life can be dramatic, can lie, this manic. State I'm in is tragic, it's all in my head. Comes out of nowhere, but I can't forget. 'Cause I've been waiting all my life. Dreaming till the day I die.
Bypass it.
Through the flames, it's time to get higher. It's elevate.
I I mean, that plugin right there is doing a bunch of good stuff. I am a fan in my mixing process of making broad stroke moves, whether I'm mixing vocals, drums, mix bus, anything. Incorporating plugins that take me metaphorically from 0 to 60. Like I have something that doesn't sound as good and I add a plugin, and instantly as a byproduct of adding that plugin, I have something that sounded a lot better than it sounded before the plugin. And I think CLA Vocals does a really good job of that. This is a great way to get something that sounds pretty good and much better than the completely unmixed vocal. But let me start to explain some things that I don't love about what I'm hearing through my speakers with only CLA vocals. I would say number one is kind of an EQ meets sibilance sort of thing. I feel like the treble, this kind of top EQ move, as well as the compression that this plugin is applying, it gives us hype, it gives us the good sauce that makes it cut through the speakers, but it brings through a little bit of harshness and harsh frequencies that I can't dial in and can't control, as well as sibilances, S's, F's, those kinds of things that in my well-treated room through my nice PMC speakers that are really honest to me, I feel like those sibilances just need reined in a little bit, and as a differentiator between good sounding vocals and that kind of moderate pro next level sounding vocal. The other thing that I don't love so much about just CLA vocals with the effects all in one is I don't have separate controls of the vocal effects. So I kind of maybe want to start to go to the moderate approach, which is taking CLA vocals and putting a few modifications and adding a few plugins around CLA vocals to use this as a base and then kind of start to tweak it and make it better. So here's what I would do, the middle of the road approach to pull off that sound. So the first thing I'm going to do is bypass all of the wet sauce, and I'm going to go audition Face to Face Dry and Rockman Dry to see which I think sounds best. And let me know in the comments below which one of these dry presets you think sounds best.
First things first, don't panic. Life can be dramatic.
So I really like the hype from that, but it's got that heavy sibilance thing, which we can fix obviously. But let's go to Rockman Dry and see about this.
First things first, don't panic. Life can be dramatic.
I think I might start with Face to Face Dry and tweak it from there. And I believe there's a rumor out there that Ryan Tedder uses this as like one of the main parts of his vocal chain. Let me know down below if you've heard of that too, or if I'm just making stuff up right now for the internet to see. But we have this Face to Face Dry, and the first thing I want to start attacking to make this sound a little bit better is some sibilance control and de-essing. So a couple de-essers I use as a part of my standard chain of mix plugins, which, spoiler alert, you'll see some of that in the more advanced part of this video, which is my kind of chain of plugins that I use on most vocals that I used originally in this mix. I'll be breaking that down for you here in just a minute. But I like the Waves de-esser as more of a de-harsher, and I really like FabFilter Pro DS as my kind of standard workhorse clean transparent de-esser. So I'd be really curious with CLA vocals and auto-tune what just adding this de-esser does. Let's see what that starts to do.
First things first, don't panic. Life can be dramatic. Can't lie, this manic state I'm in is tragic. It's all in my head.
Yeah, like you can see it working, and like on the word this manic, like you could really hear it start to kind of work and sound better. I would be curious what, and I sometimes add this later on in my chain, but stacking that with a Waves de-esser, because this is a little more aggressive of a de-esser, what this starts to do to control some of that top end sibilance without even adding any additional EQ. Let's see.
First things first, don't panic. Life can be dramatic. Can't lie, this manic state I'm in is tragic.
So you saw when I kind of added too much of that Waves de-esser, we started to get a little bit of the lisp sound, which I almost never want the singer to sound like. Let me exaggerate that to make a point so you can hear what a lispy overdone de-esser sounds like.
First things first, don't panic. Life can be dramatic. Can't lie, this manic.
Like you could hear it on this. So I'm going to bypass this for now. And I think maybe start to tackle some of that with EQ and maybe thinking ahead a little bit to soothe. So let's start to dial in some of the problem frequencies that just the CLA vocals is giving us. First off, I'm going to go ahead and just get rid of like everything below 120 some hertz, give or take right here. And then let's start notching out, probably with dynamic EQ, some of those upper end problem frequencies, upper mid-range frequencies.
First things first, don't panic. Life can be dramatic.
So it's all that stuff around 4K right there. So let's set that and start notching that a little bit with dynamic EQ. And what's so great about dynamic EQ, I'm sure a bunch of you guys watching know, is that we're not just making a cut on that vocal at all times. Basically what we're doing is setting this EQ to activate and kick in only when the certain frequencies we're setting kind of go overboard and get to be a little too much. So that's what we're setting here on that harsh. It looks like we're kind of around the 3 to 4K range.
First things first, don't panic. Life can be dramatic, can't lie, this manic state I'm in is tragic. It's all in my head, comes out of nowhere, but I can't forget, 'cause I've been waiting,
Yeah, like we're starting to get somewhere. I feel like by notching this, and if I really went hard and like notch every single one of those problem frequencies, what starts to show up is kind of the first and second harmonic. Usually, I'll show you right where that is, but usually in the lower mid-range of a singer's voice. So I tend to like to add dynamic EQ to these places too. And as we get into kind of the EQ that's preset into my vocal chain, as you'll see here in the hard or more complex part of this video, this is where I kind of have my chain set and why I have some of it set the way I do. But I'll show you. You can see it in a EQ like Pro Q, and then you can hear it with your ears too. Listen to kind of, it's usually around like the 200 hertz range. I'll show you what I'm talking about.
first things first, don't lie.
Like that junk right there. You want to keep some of it for the body, but like, and I'll show you if I add too much of it or cut it away, like what the exaggerated bits each way can do.
First things first, don't panic. Life can be
No good,
dramatic, can't lie, this manic state I'm in is tragic. It's all
Cutting way too much of that starts to thin things out way more than you want. So I find that, usually a couple dB of dynamic EQ on that first harmonic, that first fundamental frequency works pretty well. Let's see what that starts to sound like.
first things first, don't panic. Life can be dramatic, can't lie, this manic state I'm in is tragic. It's all
That's cool. And then some of the 300, 400, 500 hertz stuff, I find when I start notching that, starts to show up and sound a little undesirable as well. That sounds like this.
first thing
We don't want that.
can't lie, this manic state I'm in is tragic. It's all in my head.
And then from there, I sometimes find like the third harmonic, the 600, 700 hertz stuff starts to rear its ugly head and sound not so good. That sounds more like this. Oh, so ugly. Hate that.
Lie, this manic state I'm in is tragic. It's all in my head, comes out of nowhere, but I can't forget, 'cause I've been waiting all my life, dreaming till the day.
That's cool though. I would be curious what would happen if we bypass that EQ just to see, did we actually make it sound better? Did we not? I think we did. I think we're starting to control some of those problem frequencies that were present with just the CLA vocals, but I feel like with the Deesser and this EQ, we are getting somewhere to tame some of the things I don't like about just straight up CLA vocals.
First things first, don't panic. Life can be dramatic, can't lie, this
EQ
manic
bypass.
state I'm in is tragic. It's all in my head,
EQ in.
comes out of nowhere, but I can't forget, 'cause I've been waiting all my life.
And there's some things that are causing me to chase my tail a little bit when we go from section to section. That in the more complex advanced part coming up real soon, you're going to see that I address by, spoiler alert, splitting this vocal into multiple different tracks. But for right now, this kind of moderate medium of the road, taking a plugin like CLA Vocals and modifying it, adding the plugins you need to taste. We're going to keep all the vocals on one track right here. But you see we have a decently workable vocal. I want to take this in this moderate, middle of the road sort of phase a little bit further. And I'm going to pull open a plugin like Soothe and see what adding this to this kind of upper mid-range 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 hertz thing does. This is a nice overarching workhorse kind of soothing plugin.
First things first, don't panic.
Yeah, I like that.
Life can be dramatic, can't lie, this manic state I'm in is tragic. It's all in my head, comes out of nowhere, but I can't forget, 'cause I've been waiting all my life, dreaming till the day I die. I've already walked through the fire and ran through the flame.
Yeah, like I think that sounded pretty good. Like I said a minute ago, I don't like that all my vocals are on one track because I can hear different frequencies start to rear their head a little bit in the chorus that weren't present in the verse. And that's why I tend to split up my vocals into multiple different tracks, as well as different amounts of effect send. You'll see that at work here in just a moment. But as far as like the dry plugins going on the vocal, like really with auto tune, of course, and then CLA vocals, and then those kind of sibilance control plugins, I think we're sounding pretty good. Like I think the compression plugin on this spank mode right here, I think it sounds pretty good. Like that's not what I would probably normally pick for my standard chain of plugins, but it sounds pretty good. The other thing though I would do, and why I bypass the reverbs and delays on this plugin, is to take this CLA Vocals middle of the road thing kind of up a notch. I would probably send to a separate reverb and delay track, and that's going to allow you to have a little bit more independent control over the tone and color of your reverb and delay, as well as amounts of your reverb and delay. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's make a new track and call it Vox Verb. And let's open probably my go-to is good old faithful Valhalla Vintage Verb. I'm sure a bunch of you like Valhalla Vintage Verb. And let's just send to this reverb right here on the stock 100% mix, 4 millisecond second concert hall, just the stock vintage verb that I'm sure you all know and love.
First things first, don't panic, life can be dramatic.
So let's immediately shorten that decay for the song.
First things first, don't panic, life can be dramatic. Can't lie, this manic state I'm in is tragic. It's all in my head, comes out of nowhere, but I can't forget, cause I've been waiting all my life.
Yeah, and like that's starting to sound cool. Here's what I don't like about this. I want to shape and add a little bit more character and interest to that EQ. So immediately I'm going to push this low cut up from 10 hertz up to like 300, and maybe dial down the high cut, and then maybe double reinforce that with an EQ like Pro Q to shape that a little bit. And because this is just like the mid-range is probably the only part of the reverb that I want to cut through the mix. And this is a thing that you can do to elevate the quality of your vocal reverbs and delays. Add a little bit of EQ, add a little bit of tone shaping. You're going to be in good shape if you do this kind of thing. But that gives us something that sounds a little bit more like this.
First things first, don't panic, life can be dramatic. Can't lie, this manic state I'm in is tragic. It's all in my head, comes out of nowhere, but I can't forget, cause I've been waiting all my life.
And as a reminder of where we were just a few minutes ago with the dry vocal,
First things first, don't panic.
pretty good.
Life can be dramatic.
And just CLA,
This manic state I'm in is tragic. It's all in my head.
and with the new
Comes
stuff,
out of nowhere, but I can't forget, cause I've been waiting all my life. Dreaming till the day I die. I've already walked through the fire and ran through the flames.
pretty good. Again, some things I don't love, and I'm about to really dive deeper here as we get into the more complex, advanced, so to speak, part of this video. But here's the beauty about the more advanced part of this video is it's more advanced. You're going to see more plugins, but we're really going to start breaking down what the chain of plugins, what the presets were on the original mix I did for this song. And it's pretty much just a slight variation of the standard chain of plugins I use on 99% of the songs I mix. And so even though there's more plugins at play, I have a template, a preset, a setting that works really well for me. And actually you can get this exact vocal chain over on my website, christianhale.co/store. It's available in 5 different DAWs. But now that I've gone ahead and made these plugins active, you can just go ahead and visually see right here, all these purple tracks, for the most part, are split up lead vocal tracks. And, you know, you kind of saw some of the reasoning why I want to split up lead vocals. I want to be able to tame the sibilances and EQ in different sections of the song, as well as give different amounts of effects sent to different parts of the song. And you're going to hear that in action here. These are background vocal tracks right here. And then the other thing, one of the big differentiators kind of from that middle of the road thing and the pro, finished, more advanced sound right here is all of these black tracks right here are my reverb and delay tracks. And these are almost functioning as layers. We'll get into a little bit of this more in a minute, but I have all this preset ready to go. I have a couple wideners ready to go. I have a short, medium, and long reverb and a short, medium, and long delay with some of the EQ, with some of the tone shaping, and a couple other things to help really just have everything set together. And I find that layering a few reverbs and delays together, like 3 reverbs layered together, I find sounds more interesting than trying to get one reverb to do everything you want it to do. So that's some of what's pre-baked into the template right here. But take a listen to what this sounds like. Then I'll start breaking down some of what's going on under the hood and sharing some of the concepts that you can start applying into your own productions.
First things first, don't panic. Life can be dramatic, can't lie, this manic state I'm in is tragic. It's all in my head, comes out of nowhere.
Hear the more reverb and delay there.
I've been waiting all my life, dreaming till the day I die.
I'm curious as a quick comparison to what that sounds like compared to that kind of modified middle of the road vocal just here on the chorus.
'Cause I've been waiting all my life, dreaming till the day I die.
Like, there's really not a ton wrong with that. I would just say it's like that sibilance, that upper mid-range, that control that over here on this more advanced vocal, which again, like, it's always kind of preset ready to go. I have some of the stuff going on. It sounds a little better like this.
I've been waiting all my life, dreaming till the day I die.
To me, it has plenty of brightness, but it doesn't hurt your ears. It's smoothed out. It's more controlled. So as far as some of what's going on under the hood here, and to see an even deeper dive on my vocal chain, track by track, check out the video down in the description below. I spent an hour breaking down all of this for you. I break it down over a pop country track, and it's like 99% the same plugins that I'm using here. I actually did this song a couple of years ago now, so I've updated a couple of things as of the time I did that last video, but it's pretty much the same concepts that you're going to see apply. But first off, I have everything feed this lead vocal aux right here, which has these 8 plugins. And to me, this lead vocal aux is just kind of a means of 1, adding color, and 2, adding hype and just helping the vocals cut through the mix and sit kind of nice and forward and up front how I like them. Here's with the lead vocal aux bypassed. I'll solo up the vocal. So everything on the tracks here, but lead vocal aux bypassed.
I've been waiting all my life, dreaming till the day I die.
And as far as what's going on here, I have a little bit of EQ just notching some of those parts. This Ruby and El Rey really are acting more as color boxes. Again, to dive deeper on this, check out that video down below. But then here starts to be a couple concepts I think you can apply. I have this OTT, this Pro L2, as well as this JST clip. These 3 plugins right here. We'll come back to the Saturn and Neutron Exciter. But these are acting as, you know, this is a clipper, but these are limiting compression sort of plugins. As well as over here on the track, I have LA2A and RVox. That's like 5 plugins acting in tandem as compressors. Here, if I bypass the 5 of those, the 2 on the track right here, as well as the 3 right here, listen to the level and the loudness. But then adding those back in 1 plugin at a time, hear how that compression is staged, and I'm kind of sharing the load of the compression and limiting over the course of multiple different plugins. Check out what this sounds like.
All my life, dreaming till the day I die. I've already walked through the fire and ran through the flames. It's time.
Yeah, so we're getting that good compression, good limiting, but we're not over reliant on 1 plugin like the CLA Vocal or even an LA2A 1176, any compressor. You know, RVox, I haven't used RVox in a while. I used to use this all the time, but like it works. But I find that not over relying on 1 compressor and kind of sharing the love, that's what's sort of baked into my template. The other couple things on the lead vocal aux though are a little more specific to this song. I have the Saturn on warm tape saturation just for the little more driven vocal that was specific to this song. Sometimes I'll use Decapitator on the old Radio Man preset for that. Works great. And then this neutron exciter to saturate the upper mid range, because that's really the part of the vocal I want to cut through and speak. So that's some of what's going on in the lead vocal aux. Again, I'll play that for you with all the plugins bypassed and add them in one plugin at a time so you can really hear what's going on.
In all my life, dream it till the day I die. I've already walked through the fire and ran through the flames.
And obviously we're bypassing reverb and delay. And then as far as what's going on a track level, we kind of showed you the couple compressors we have right here. But kind of nodding back to the middle of the road section, I have a couple Deessers working in tandem right here, just sharing the load, a little bit more neutron exciter, kind of hyping up that upper mid range, as well as EQ. That's just, this looks like it's crazy and looks like a ton's going on. But if you notice, this is pretty much all dynamic EQ and like, you know, half a dB, 1 dB at the max moves. And that dynamic EQ isn't making these moves permanent. These are just notching those problem-specific frequencies that we kind of broke down a few minutes ago for this song, as well as a little bit of soothe. So all of this in tandem kind of gives us that vocal sound, which in the context of the track sounds like this.
I've been waiting all my life, dreaming till the day I die. I've already walked through the fire and ran through the flames. It's time to get higher and elevate.
A couple other things I'll point out to you are these background vocal tracks. This is a really good technique I do almost all the time. As you notice the background vocals, I'll play them for you, but it's a left-right of one part and then a left-right of a different part. It's not just a mono background vocal. That gives the background vocals lots of width, lots of texture in the mix. Check out what these sound like.
Already walked through the fire and ran through the flames. It's time to...
Yeah, and as far as the chain here, that's feeding a background vocal aux with a little bit of neutron and ozone right here. Again, in the video down below, you can see me deep dive on all of this. And then the plugins on the track, you're going to see a lot of the same concepts. Compression, de-essing, a little bit of basic EQ, a little bit of decap for this song, a little bit more compression, a little bit more de-essing, and a little bit of high boost, high cut with the Puigtec right here. Just adding EQ, but some color with that too. And then the other thing in the more advanced, elaborate thing, we talked about it a minute ago, but I want to point to your attention, is not just like the multiple reverbs and delays stacked together, but I spend a lot of time adding color, harmonic saturation, and tone shaping to reverbs and delays. And I think this is a really good technique you can take to add into your own productions. Harmonic saturation and EQ with your reverbs and delays is just going to add more interest. It's going to give the mix a little bit more depth, a little bit more color. Harmonic saturation is our friend. And in mixing as a whole, like if I'm mixing someone else's production or my own production, I find myself reaching for saturators all the time, just trying to maximize the harmonic information I can pull out of the mix. And so like if you look at just like one of my reverb tracks right here, you see we have the reverb, the same Valhalla Vintage verb, but I'm following that up with Decapitator as well as Pro Q because I just wanted the high end in the case of this song. But I layer that in with a plate reverb that I kind of kill some of that upper mid range, also adding saturation and Decapitator and a much shorter or kind of, 1 second shorter in the case of this song, plate reverb. And then I layer that in with a plate, a Bricasti plate from the Slate Verb Suite Classic at 1 millisecond. And what do you know, adding a little bit of EQ to that as well. So again, to dive deeper on what these exact effect settings are, check out that video down in the description below. But you start to get the idea. Adding EQ and harmonic saturation to your reverbs and delays is your friend. So let's again take a listen to what the vocal through this more complex, more advanced chain of plugins sounds like so you can hear it once again in context.
First things first, don't panic. Life can be dramatic. Can't lie, this manic state I'm in is tragic. It's all in my head.
More verb and delay.
Nowhere, but I can't forget, 'cause I've been waiting all my life, dreaming till the day I die. I've already walked through the fire and ran through the flames. It's time to get higher and elevate.
as one final comparison, let's compare that back to just the CLA vocals to hear what that sounds like.
First, don't panic, life can be dramatic. Can't lie, this manic state I'm in is tragic. So
I think now that you've spent some time listening to the mixed vocal, you can instantly hear some of the differences. When we did CLA vocals from nothing, it's easy to be like, oh, that sounds pretty good. But when we go this more elaborate, detailed mixed vocal compared to just CLA vocals, it's kind of easy to be like, oh, okay, I get the difference. And then CLA vocals with some of the modified.
can't lie, this manic state I'm in is tragic. It's all in my head, comes out of nowhere, but I can't forget.
Better, a little bit more controlled, but I think that my instincts on how I did it the first time a couple years ago now were right, because the final vocal, I think, through the more elaborate, more detailed chain of plugins, which again, you can get over on my website, christianhale.co/vocal chain, available in 5 different DAWs, and see me break it down plugin by plugin in the video down below, gives us something that sounds like this.
But I can't forget, 'cause I've been waiting all my life, dreaming till the day I die.
Those are 3 ways to mix vocals. A super simple turnkey easy way, a middle of the road way that's taking that turnkey way and kind of leveling it up, and then my vocal chain, which is the most complicated, but in a lot of ways I think is the simplest way, because it's all preset, it's all right there ready to go, and I know it's going to work. The concepts in that vocal chain will apply to you though, regardless if you're using this exact chain of plugins or not. So take these concepts, bring them into your own production. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up, drop me a comment down below, subscribe to the channel, because I'm here to bring you guys all the value, all the knowledge I've accumulated over my 10 years of doing this music industry producer songwriter thing. Here's to making better music, here's to making our vocal mixes sound better, and we'll see you back here on the channel real soon.